Hello, the purpose of this video is to discuss 3 objections to eliminative materialism. So, the first objection to eliminative materialism is based on the fact that we really can be quite certain of our mental experiences. All of the folk psychology that is criticised in eliminative materialism is all stuff that we very much can directly access with our mind. I know right now I'm thinking, it's the one thing I can be absolutely certain of. If I reflect, I'm thinking. I can understand just how I'm feeling at the moment as a mental state. My mental state is calm and relaxed as I sit in the garden. I'm just absolutely certain of that. So the mental knowledge that we have, that eliminative materialism wants to get rid of, this folk psychology, actually we can access it very directly. We can be very certain about the reality, about how our mind is. In fact, you could argue that we can be more certain about our own inner mental experiences than many other things. So, therefore, to say that, well, no, we're wrong and we need to eliminate these things in favour of a more physicalistic understanding is completely counterintuitive. A second response or objection to eliminative materialism is the fact that folk psychology, as we have developed it, really does have very good explanatory and predictive power. So when we talk about the mind and we make statements about what other people are thinking, actually that does help us predict what's going to happen quite easily. When, if I make a statement, that man over there, look, he's really angry, that's a really good statement to make, because if I now choose to act in a certain way, I know the kind of reactions I'm going to get from him. And in fact, all of the language around the mind that we have, all of this folk psychology is very good at predicting how things are actually going to happen in the world. So if it is very good at predicting on how things are going to happen, it's very useful. It's tried and tested. It's been around for thousands and thousands of years. It works. So it seems unlikely that this new type of language that the eliminative materialist maybe wants to create is going to be more useful than the very sensible mental language that we currently have. So the current language is very good at explaining how humans behave, how humans are going to act. It's useful. And to get rid of all this folk psychology and say it should be replaced with a different physicalistic kind of language, actually, might not be a good strategy. It might not be useful. That new language might not actually enable us to understand other people and the world as well as we currently do with this supposed folk psychology. The third, just to add on to that, there's a section called a degenerating research program. Now, what that's saying is that actually there's a lot of research out there that the current, in terms of tackling current mental illnesses, or that there are therapies that very much rely on this understanding of mind, and again they enable psychologists, cognitive behaviour therapy and stuff like that enables psychologists to help people develop. And so therefore, if we get rid of this folk psychology, then all of these psychological, clinical psychology treatments surely will have to be abandoned as well. And no, they actually by thinking about the mind using folk psychology enables us to help improve our brain, so and helps eliminate deal with mental illness. Okay, the third objection is that eliminative materialism is self-refuting. And this is kind of a clever objection. What this is saying is that if you believe that our kind of the language we use to discuss the mind is largely flawed and needs to be eliminated, well, surely things like beliefs, I have a belief. Well, there's something wrong there. We need to eliminate that and maybe start talking about different connections in the brain being tied up to different neuro pathways. We need to get rid of the language of I have a belief and replace it with something else that we have yet to discover. Now, if that is the case, then surely my belief that eliminative materialism is the best theory, well, that's a belief, but I've just come to the conclusion by that theory that the notion of belief is is folk nonsense, and we need to get rid of that. So the idea is, the criticism, and it's quite a clever one, is that eliminative materialism is self-defeating, self-refuting, because it relies, it trashes the notion of having beliefs, and eliminative materialism is a belief. Okay, so there we go. 3 objections to eliminative materialism. And at this stage, if you can try and articulate those, that you're doing a good job for the piece of work you need to do. So outline eliminative materialism, and then argue, 2 or 3 of those objections, giving your own examples as you go. Obviously, for those people that are really getting their heads around this nicely, you could try and come back and give a few replies to those objections. What would Patricia Churchland say to each of those objections?